Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to the entire DevFest team for having me. I'm so excited. My name is Dami. I don't think there's any more to say. I am a product designer and founder of Tabs. Tabs is a library, so if you're a designer and you're familiar with Dribble or Mobin, for example, Tabs is just like that, but Tabs is tailored to African products. So if you're designing for the African market, it just makes sense for you to reference African products. Am I right? So Tabs helps you with that. So please check out Tabs. So for today, we're going to throw AI out the window. I know, just like everyone, I'm tired. I'm very tired of hearing AI. Sorry, I just want to run my timer so I can keep track of things. So, like I said, we're throwing AI out the window and we're redefining what it means to design with intelligence. When you hear intelligence, do you think AI? Do you think automated processes? What exactly are we focused on today when we say designing with intelligence? So, what makes Google search intelligence? I remember growing up, one of the priorities when the internet became the internet, everybody would say, use Google, ask Google. Google was like the prime search engine. And we consider Google as the smartest tool in the world. So what exactly makes Google search intelligence? Is it the AI? Is it the way it automates your processes, completes your search, has your search history, and so much more? Although recently, most search experiences have started using machine learning to automate their processes, but way before that, search engines use design to automate certain things. Everything was very, very simple. Sorry, guys, I have a sore throat. Everything was very simple and very clear and straightforward, using design choices to reduce friction or cognitive loads. But yeah, in recent times, we've seen companies automate key features. So features like their chatbots, and we've seen these things fail. Why have they failed? They didn't fail because AI was used in that process. Most of them failed because they failed to consider basic UX choices, UX decisions that will make the process as simple or as easy as possible. Those automated tools alone do not cancel out basic user experience factors that they should consider. Some of us have used chatbots that feel like we are talking to a brick wall. We're asking question A, they are telling us question B. Some even misinterpret prompts. And some of us have used apps that are like, oh, this app is made out of my heart. It gets me. And when you consider these two factors, you would notice that those apps that you feel like they get you, most of them don't use AI. Am I right? It's just basic stuff. It's just, okay, I want to delete this process. I can see the delete button is very clear. Or I don't know what this does. You see inline instructions. You see haptic feedback. You see the tools. You see the notification. It's just basic design decisions. So what exactly does it mean to design intelligently? One of the cool things as a designer that has been designing for eons is I like to come up with my own philosophies and my own concepts, partly because I'm very jealous of famous designers that have their own quotes. You know, one day you talk about Hicks law, I talk about that law. I'm like, I want them to talk about Dami's concept. And I've done that in something I like to call the intelligence spectrum. Dami's concept about the intelligence spectrum estimates the intelligence goes from level 0 and level 4, right? I'm going to clarify, don't worry, sorry. It's all maths, I'm going to clarify. This intelligence spectrum has different needs. There's a certain level that needs just basic design inputs, which is what I hope all of us as designers start considering. And there's some that, inherently will start needing automated input, machine learning to, track your users' actions and stuff like that. But where we come in as designers, we're not thinking about the technicalities, right? Is anyone a designer here that's thinking of how to draft or create an AI machine? Please confirm with me so I can learn. Anyone trying to build an AI tool here? So let's go through Dami's intelligence spectrum. Level 0 starts with something I like to call static experiences. So like the name implies, nothing moves, nothing changes. That experience is basically the same for every single person that uses that product. A good example of this is, okay, we're good. A good example of this is a landing page. Very rarely will you see a landing page that's customized to the view of every user. I think very recently most people have started doing that, but typically the landing pages are just static pieces of information that anyone that wants to learn about your product or learn about the app can just go on there, find more information. Hopefully they get convinced enough to download your app. Am I right? Is that how landing pages work? Sorry guys, I can't hear you. Thank you. The second level is responsive design. Just like the name implies, it functions with user action, right? User inputs. When you type in something, something is expected to come up. A good example of this is the password validation. For example, you enter the wrong combination of passwords. Maybe you're supposed to enter an alphanumeric password. You skip the numbers, or wrong combination of uppercase and lowercase. You get that error message. I'm sure we're all familiar with responsive design, right? Yeah. So the second level is contextual. Again, it acts based on your user's context, right? So what does that mean? Sorry guys. I just need to remember. It acts based on your user context. My favorite example of this is Child Deck. I'm going to be referencing Child Deck a lot today because I'm a big fan. For contextual experiences, a very good example, a very good way for me to explain this to you is when you're in a different location. Let's say, for example, I'm in Bagada and I want to order from Chicken Republic. I will change my location on Child Deck, and Child Deck automatically uses my context to recommend services to me. So the restaurants I see would either be 10 minutes from me, would either be the next door restaurant, they're recommending supermarkets next door. It would be pointless for me to be in Bagada and I enter Bagada as my address and they're recommending restaurants to me in Ikoyi. That's happened with a different app before. So that's a good example of an intelligence spectrum, right? The last one is adaptive experiences. This is where the machine learning and the AI comes in. This is basically the only spectrum I have noticed in my career that AI would become very relevant. A good example of an adaptive experience is your Spotify personalized playlist, the Wrapped they do every year. There's a lot of machine learning that goes into tracking little things like that. So let's say a good example. A good example of this spectrum, and probably one of the few apps I've studied to be able to come up with the spectrum of intelligent design, is WhatsApp. Are we all familiar with WhatsApp? Yeah, I should hope so. I should hope so. Comparing WhatsApp with that intelligence spectrum, one of the key things I really like that they do is contextual awareness. WhatsApp kind of works based on, I wouldn't say based on your location, but it makes the experience as seamless as possible depending on where you are, regardless of where you are. So A good example that matters to our context. So when I say our context, I mean the Nigerian markets, the African markets, is their Wi-Fi only downloads. You will notice WhatsApp automatically downloads low res or gives you an option to, you know, send HD pictures. And one of the reasons is that they're helping you save your data. That's the summary. They're helping you save your data. They understand that certain contexts dictates the results or user actions. So yeah, media compression, typing indicators. Again, that's a status input. So that's contextual awareness, giving the user feedback, giving them, okay, this person is typing, this person has read my message, although I know I have my read receipts off by now. I don't want anybody knowing I read your message and I replied 3 months later. Okay, oh my God, they will see this. Anyway, so those little indicators are things that make, apps and products follow that intelligence spectrum. So you will notice the things I've listed here, barely any one of them uses automation tools or AI, although there's an AI assistant on WhatsApp and it's rarely being used. I don't know, I don't use it. Uh, I think it's very popular in certain demographic or certain audiences, I'm not sure. But for the ones I've listed based on our context, you would notice that um, most of these additions or most of these tools are basically designing intelligence by making key design choices or key design changes that would, what's it called, make the user experience as easy as possible. Now, I know what we are all thinking. Who is this babe and why is she trying to cancel AI? Like, who is this random girl? The reality is reality. I'm so happy that Dennis and the rest of the guys that came on stage, I'm so sorry I didn't get their names. Um, they mentioned the pros and they mentioned the cons of AI, right? The reality is when you're a designer designing for markets, again, I said our market, Nigerian markets, African markets, you would understand that AI is simply a tool that we use technically. It's what you as a designer would use, right? Or an engineer to speed up your coding process, speed up your process. Realistically, I'm not going to put an AI tool in front of Madame Precious in Balogun Markets. Let's be honest with each other. We want to make Madame Precious's experiences as seamless as possible. We want her to know that, okay, this is my transfer procedure has been successfully completed. That's simply designing with intelligence. The right set of people, putting the right set of tools in front of them, not thinking this is a fancy process and putting things that they clearly won't understand or they clearly wouldn't use or drop off midway. That doesn't mean you're designing with intelligence. That's pointless, in my own opinion. So I'm not boycotting AI. AI is a useful tool internally. You can use it to speed up your process, but realistically, the right people you're designing for need the right kind of solution. And most of the times, these solutions are mostly design based. Please don't fight me. There are 5 principles. Okay, nobody said anything about that fight. Now I'm scared. There are 5 principles of intelligent design. So these ones are things I feel like everyone can take back to their desk. They have examples and practical use cases for this, so I'll try to breeze through it. I also want to point out that if anyone has any questions, please write them down. I like to take questions, so this is not just a yapping session, like I like to call it. I'm going to breeze through it because I know I've gone past my time. But the first one is recollection, not recall. Um, Again, like the name implies, you want to reduce the cognitive load as much as possible. I feel the need to explain what cognitive load is. It's basically the amount of mental efforts that your user has to that has to take on, It's like having like 50 million tabs. I'm sure most of us have tabs on our browsers open from now till eternity. But that's cognitive loads. The first one is child X, repeat order. I've said I'm a child X fan. One of the cool things about child X and the application of this principle is their repeat order, right? So if you're somebody like me that's a creature of a habit, I do the same thing. I order from the same two places every day and I order the same thing. I don't change it. If they don't have, my day is ruined. Child repeat order is a very good example of sorry, recognition or recall, sorry. So it's very easy for you to just, in 3 clicks, 2 clicks, you go to a previous order, click on repeat order, right? It's very easy to have your users, go through that process. It's such an hassle. Imagine every single time I want to place an order from Chicken Republic, for example, I'm scrolling through their long menu and making selections. There's a tendency for drop off. I will get tired one day and say, okay, I'm no more ordering, and that's the end of it. The second one is pre-filled beneficiaries. So you see and you've noticed apps that allow you to save beneficiaries for frequent transactions. The last one is recently viewed items, just like the name implies. Second principle is anticipate the next action. If your user does this action, performs action A, what are they likely to do next, right? So for example, the way Bolt prompts you to rate your drivers after every ride, even though I know most of us don't do, but I have a lot to say most times. So I have a lot to say. That feature comes in handy. The next one is streaming services asking you to continue watching. It's pointless if you're watching a show and you shut down your laptop and you have to now search that show again. So anticipating your user's actions. The last example is Zap. Zap is a very new app. I'm not advertising for them, by the way. Zap is a new app, but one of their features I really like is how they anticipate the amounts that you want to transfer. I think that's really cool, and it's the first time I've seen that. So for example, I want to make a transfer to this handsome man over here, and I get hi, sorry for calling you out, and I get to Zap, and I type 1 on Zap. The cool thing about it is it gives me little badges that shows 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. So I really don't have to type it. If I type 2, same thing. I think that was a very good addition. So let's go to the third one. The third one is intelligent defaults. So your user action, as much as possible, you want to reduce friction. You want to reduce the amount of times they take, in a drop down, for example. The next one is system states visibility. It was supposed to be visibility. So you want to reduce the amount of questions your user will possibly ask, especially in like loading states, inline notification, haptic feedback, and stuff like that. Sorry guys, I'm speeding through it. The last principle is design for recovery, right? A common misconception with intelligent design is it's completely immune to mistakes, right? And that's impossible. Nothing is perfect. Users make mistakes. Users change their minds every single day. It's important that when you call your design intelligent, it's easy for users to bypass every error, right? It's very easy. Allow your users to make mistakes, but make it also easier for them to undo said mistakes. Are we still together? I'm going to skip this, sadly, but if you want to see it as a long demo of applications of intelligent design, sorry guys. There are objections, especially as designers. I like that Dennis mentioned designers and engineers are the biggest enemies. They just say, yeah, it doesn't work. There are different approaches to bypass these things. My favorite approach, especially when designing with a cross-functional team, is understanding the capabilities of your team before recommending fixes or changes or things like that. So I would have gone into more detail, but it's very important to incorporate user research. It's been mentioned before. That's something AI unfortunately cannot do. You can use AI for user testing. It will just tell you this number of people click this button, these people bounced off. It won't tell you why. It won't tell you a user jumped the app because her baby was crying or she got distracted or the network, buggered off or stuff like that. Also, the engineers telling you the design is complex. You probably didn't involve them in the design process to understand technical visibility. There's so much key details that once fixed would solve it and actually make your design intelligent. Yeah? So, what does intelligent design look like in our context? Again, our context is designing for the Nigerian market. Do we have any designers designing for the foreign market here? Oh my God, hi, I'll collect your number after. So, designing for the Nigerian context, we very luckily and very unluckily live in a very dense market, and there's so many unfortunate considerations that, in my opinion, we shouldn't be facing in big 2025. But there are very important considerations. I've listed the mobile first usage. Majority of our users are on their phones, on low quality phones, so Androids, different considerations. There are the data costs, varying level of technical literacy, different. Don't assume that everyone using your app understands what a certain icon means and stuff like that. And there's payment method diversity. My longest running joke is the average Nigerian has like 5 bank accounts. I don't know why, but there are different considerations when it comes to payment methods and diversity and stuff like that. I would love to talk about that if anyone has the time afterwards. So, it's been a long day. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Key takeaways, right? The first one is intelligence is basically simplifying or working with your user's context, understanding your user, and reducing the friction as much as possible. It's not a design versus AI process. We're all working together to literally do one thing, one goal. I want to make my user's experience as seamless as possible. I want to reduce friction. And your job as a designer is to make that possible. The next one is my principles that I've given so freely. Please call it Dami's principles. Uh, so one day, like my grandchildren will be like, "Oh my God, let's reference our grandmother's principles." But 5 principles, I'll be happy to share them again later on. Apply them as consistently as possible, and that really improves and actually makes your design counts as intelligence. Next one is start with an audit. Ask the right questions. What's my user doing next? What are they doing now? Who is my user? Why are they doing this? Why do they need my app? Majority of our little hassle and the bugs we face, especially as designers and when we iterate and stuff, happen because we don't ask questions, right? So start with an audit all the time. Then the last one is small decisions compound. I know it's very tempting for us to take a chunk of features and want to redesign everything at one time and just say, yeah, today we're designing the entire mobile app. But the key thing, the sweet part of it is little features. It could just be improving the inline notifications and the haptic feedback that will give you a better experience or better results when you do your user testing. Intelligence of a product is not measured by how technical or how fancy or how complex the code is, but exactly your user experience. And I think that's something we should all consider I know it's very tempting for us to slap on the fanciest technologies, but it's very important that we keep, you know, laser focus on the goal. I hope this has been really helpful. I would really love to meet anyone that wants in-depth details for my demos or any other thing. Thank you so much. So please, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take one or two. And you can please scan the QR code. It takes you to my website, but you can see all my links there. If you have any questions, if you're too shy to ask any question, you can meet me here or just send me. Or if you want to beat me up, I'm sorry. Okay, please, can we have a mic? I see. Yeah, get one person. Thank you. Sorry, guys, I couldn't do a giveaway. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, good
Hi, good
morning.
morning.
My name is Israel,
Hi,
and
Israel.
I'd like to just throw a question to you.
Yes,
How would
please.
you attack a project when you're building something that has not been built before? More like you're a trailblazer and you're trying to structure something that doesn't have a reference point. From your own perspective, what would you suggest is the best way to go about it?
Thank you, Israel. I really like that question because one of my first projects as a designer was designing a cybersecurity and compliance product that hasn't been built in Nigeria and Africa before. And it was supposed to be serving Nigerians and Africans. I think it's usually very tricky, you know, but it's a very easy approach. Usually, what helps me is research. It sounds like a no brainer, but it's doing a lot of research and looking outside our products, looking at relevant products, similar things, right? Let's say you're designing a I'm trying to think of a product. You're designing a product for rice, for example. There are no references for that product for rice. Look at other products that are serving other markets, right? Is there something similar? So other markets, I mean foreign, outside your target audience, different users, stuff like that. Reference key things. Do a competitive analysis. Looking at this as a designer, what what do I do here that will make it better, right? Usually that helps in general, except there's a specific issue you're facing. Yes? What's the specific issue? Yeah. Said I oh sorry. It's
So the
global.
product I kind of working on is the Canadian fintech, and it's on global credit migration, particularly focusing on people moving from third world countries to Canada,
Okay.
particularly, and helping people to build their credit. So imagine yourself coming from
Okay. From
Nigeria to
trying
Canada,
to
and
build your credit.
you don't want to start from ground zero building your credit rating. So helping them come over there, and then a couple of things come up. The product has not really gone mainstream, so kind of trying to create a context of how to make it very user
Uh,
friendly. I don't know if you get the
yeah.
picture.
Yeah. I do know. I do know. I think the first thing that came to my mind once you mentioned that was Reddit. People, for some reason, on Reddit have gone through everything in this life. Anything you think you've gone through. So I would say reference that, right? That would be your reference points for research, right? And just do it, right? The more hesitates or try to figure out the perfect reference or the perfect app that is similar to this, the more it takes a while. Don't be afraid to iterate. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's one of the fun parts about designers, and that's where I feel like we're all lacking as designers, right? we're all afraid to make mistakes. I'm a very big perfectionist, right? But embrace that concept of mistakes. Just do it, and iterate as much as possible and read other experiences. Okay, you don't have UI references, read what people have written online. How easy is it for you to, track your credit, build your credit, stuff like that? Check Twitter. What are people saying? Ask somebody in a random thread, how did you now figure this problem out? You would notice your inspiration comes from very mundane places, right? It could just be sending somebody a random DM or reading a random Reddit thread. I would love to follow up about this later on, but if you consider these things, I feel like it should be a no-brainer. I wish you well. Thank you, Israel. Do we have any other questions? I think we can only do one more. I'm so happy I kept to 10. Yay!
Hi.
Hi. Good
The
morning.
intelligence spectrum you're talking about,
Yes.
the predictive level, I did not quite get it. The difference between the contextual level and the predictive level. So you can explain it to me better.
Okay. Explain it in what?
The difference between the contextual level and the
Yeah.
predictive level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand it.
Okay. For predictive, just like the name implies, it predicts your actions, right? So ideally, when you place an order, your next step is to submit or send the order so it can actually be complete. So predictive. The second one was what? Contextual. It's influenced by your environment, right? So if you notice when you go on Google calendars or something like that, your time zone is automatically selected. You don't have to go there and adjust your time zone. If you're having a meeting with somebody from another country, it adjusts based on your own time zone or based on their own time zone. That's contextual, based on, external factors. I hope that answers that question. Okay, you can ask me after. Okay. Thank you again, everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and please feel free to ask me any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dami. Please let's give her a round of applause. We can do better than that. Thank you.